Bringing Eagles Film Room to you guys over the last couple of years has been an absolute pleasure, but I understand not everybody has got 15 minutes to sit through a film breakdown. So in what is now the calm before the storm between now and training camp, I decided to bring something slightly different to the table. Welcome to Eagles Film Room Roulette, where instead of a big 15-minute breakdown on one player, we spin a random name generator that has every player on the Eagles roster, and from there we pick out 5 plays from their 2018 season, whether they were good, bad, ugly. Maybe we learned something new, maybe we find a play that was buried in the thousands that were ran that year, or maybe we unearth a diamond in the rough. Who knows? But without further ado, this is the first episode of Eagles Film Room Roulette. Before we get started, guys, as always, if you enjoy this sort of content and you want to see more, leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and let me know your opinions down in the comments. Again, we want to build the biggest subscriber base of Philadelphia sports fans possible. We need your help to do it, and don't forget, you can get daily content from myself and all of our writers at phillysportsnetwork.com. Alright, so let's spin the wheel for the first ever Eagles Film Room Roulette. Who's it gonna be? Are we gonna find it? Oh, it's Alapulavaati Vaitai. Alright, do you know what? That's quite interesting. I'm sure there's plenty to discuss, especially considering his current move to right guard, something that is being focused on heavily ahead of Eagles training camp. Why is he moving inside? Maybe these 5 players are gonna shed some insight. Alright, so the first player picked out was Corey Clement's 15-yard touchdown run against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Vaitai is lining up as a left tackle, and his sole responsibility here is to get to the second level and clear out Lavonte David, number 54. To heavy formation, the Eagles have even got Shelton Gibson down at the line of scrimmage, but Brandon Brooks is going to charge through and pick up the other Bucs linebacker as well. And what this does, theoretically, is carve a nice open window for Corey Clement. What you're going to see here from Vaitai, though, is an explosion out of his stance and a seamless handoff where he takes Jason Pierre-Paul, number 90, just passes him off to Wisniewski and immediately pushes Lavonte David out of the way, carving open that hole for Corey Clement. A lot of people have problems with Vaitai's pass protection, and that's understandable, but as someone that can get to the second level and assert his power in the run game, he does a very exceptional job, and plays like this just really add fuel to that fire. You can see him just thrust his body forward, keeps his pad level square, David's got nowhere to go, and that's a home run for Corey Clement and the Eagles. There was another great example of this against the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. The Eagles want a trap play here where Zach Ertz is going to come back underneath and really cement this run, but it's Alapulavaati Vaitai's explosion again that allows Brandon Brooks to come up, pick up Miles Jack and carve open that hole for Adams to counter and slip underneath. Vaitai delivers a thunderous first blow in this drive block and then drives with his lower body, which is something which in pass protection can hurt him, but that thick lower base really helps him drive momentum, and it's that push, it's that momentum which opens up the hole for Josh Adams to cut back through and pick up a monumental gain at Wembley. Alright, we've spoken about the positives, but now to the elephant in the room, and that's what Alapulavaati Vaitai is like in pass protection. A lot of it, if I'm brutally honest, comes down to footwork, and I think it's something that does need its own film room, and maybe this is why he is being pushed inside, but he can just seem to let that lower body get away from him at times. On a simple ball rush here against the New York Giants, we're going to slow down, take another look at exactly what happens with Alapulavaati Vaitai's footwork. It all starts with the kick step. At that point, that's one step into the play. Look at the wide base that Lane Johnson has, the much skinnier base that Vaitai does, and while they're slightly different defensive positions, Vaitai keeps his hands low, does try to get them underneath, but just gets driven off and then has to kind of push with his upper body, and that's where a lot of the problems come from in pass protection, where he ends up unable to control that upper body weight. It slides all over the place and ends up pushing him out of favour, and that's what ultimately caused that hit on Carson Wentz. He can't keep that firm base throughout. This is a really interesting clip against Yannick Ngakoue, one of the league's premier pass rushers against the Jaguars in London. But this is what I mean, that base is so narrow, he's then driving with his upper body, and if we mirror that with what Jason Peters is doing, look at how much flexion there is in that lower body. It's all driven by the legs, and even though he may be at a disadvantage, there's constant contact and he's driving around with the lower body. Just look at this step, for instance. Jason Peters is square to Calais Campbell. Vaitai's hands are down by his side. He's just inviting a punch into that chest. I don't know how much more open you can be. He's late with the hands. He then has to make up for it. Just a bad play from Alapulavaati Vaitai. Now against the Dallas Cowboys in this play, you can see it's in the fourth quarter. It's a clutch drive. The Eagles driving deep into enemy territory, and all Carson Wentz is looking for here is a cheap check down in zone coverage to Zach Ertz. He can't get it, but is luckily able to scramble away. Now, why couldn't he get it, and why did he have to scramble? Well, both of them, unfortunately, are thanks to Halapoulivaati Vaitai. He's going to come up here against DeMarcus Lawrence, can't get his hands set, and a late lunge here. This is a great bit of effort from Vaitai, forces him to narrowly miss the QB hit, and Wentz escaped into the open space that remains. But at the end of the day, Vaitai was beaten early on. Yes, it's a great recovery, but it's those same problems play after play in pass protection that we see. Essentially gets frozen here. That front foot just doesn't come back along with his upper body, and he ends up reaching, which is what causes half of these problems to begin with, just like we saw against Ngaki. We'll slow this down. Now in Vaitai's defense, it has to be mentioned, this is DeMarcus Lawrence, and he is one of the better pass rushers in the NFL, if not one of the elite ones. But he comes out of this kick step here, everything's going well, Lawrence is throwing everything he can, and again Vaitai is just left reaching and recovering as opposed to staying stable and conservative. It's almost like there's a certain level of scrappiness to his play where it's panicking if he can't get that handset, and maybe a move inside would help. But we've hit our time limit. That's the 5 plays, guys. This was the first episode of Eagles Film Room Roulette. What were your takeaways? Has this maybe shown anything new? Is it a series you want to see continue? Let me know down in the comments. From myself, Liam Jenkins, you can follow me on Twitter at LiamJenkinsPSN. I'll see you next time for a full episode of Eagles Film Room on Saturday and the Outside Insider podcast tomorrow.